Good day, everyone. This is Jacqueline Biersma back with the Talking Head session in the MIM training, the Managing International Assignments. And today is with us Becky Woods. Hi, Becky.
Hi, great to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Becky, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Becky Woods. I'm Senior Director, Global Mobility at ADP, based right outside of New York City. And I've been in the global mobility industry about 16 years.
That's impressive. That's exactly what we need for our audience. Thank you so much for accepting this call. And we're going to ask a few questions. I would very much like to hear from you what exactly a corporate is looking for when you're looking for a service provider.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say it really is individualized and customized to each corporate client. Sometimes things like cost are very important, or sometimes things like what does the size of the provider look like, and is that a good fit with your company? For example, if you're a smaller size program, do you have a preference to work with the larger RMC to be able to leverage their larger network, or do you prefer to work with perhaps a smaller RMC for different reasons? I think it's really important to evaluate your criteria and evaluate how do I want that partner to be a fit for me, to see if they fit all of those criteria. So again, not just kind of volume and size, but even things like culture. So what is their kind of corporate missions and values, and do those align with yours? We always talk about how you want your vendor network to kind of be an extension of you and an extension of your company. So are they able to be flexible and mold and be trained on your company's missions and values to then be able to, as they're talking to your associates, portray those as well and truly act as an extension of you?
Yeah, very much understand, and very good to have these measures actually, as you say. But if you're looking for measures for success, what would you then say?
Yeah, and again, I think each company is going to define it differently. Some companies may say a measure of success for me is no noise. I have maybe outsourced the entire administration of my program, and if I don't hear anything, that means everything's running smoothly, and that's great.
Yeah.
Others may say a big goal for me this year is I need to achieve some cost savings. Help me achieve some cost savings within the program, and a measure of success was you were able to achieve that. Other measure of success is maybe you're really focused on household goods shipment claims, and meeting certain goals around reducing household goods shipment claims as a measure of success. So I think you can start out with how you define your measure of success, and it probably will change year over year based on what your current initiatives and current goals are. But I think what's most important, especially as you're bringing on a new provider and implementing with them, is truly thinking about it and defining them.
Yeah.
So everybody knows, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to work for in this program? And then put in place those KPIs or SLAs to be able to actually measure it and report back on it.
Yeah, exactly. And do you also then measure within the assignees that you send abroad or bring back to any destination? Is that also what you do?
Yeah. And I think too, kind of another way to measure success are those surveys, the satisfaction surveys, and what was the associate experience like, which is something that at my company, that's a big focus for us and a big measurement of success.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you. And of course, by nature, things also go wrong, and sometimes things go terribly wrong. And if you're looking for partners, what is it in a partner that you then would want them to do or to act upon?
Yeah, it's a great question because, like you said, things will go wrong. We'll always try to avoid it, but there's human error. There are things out of our control. So I think what's important when you're evaluating your partner is how did they recover from it? And I think what is really important is if they've built this culture of honesty and transparency and communication with you, it'll be easier for them to help recover from it. I've seen, and especially again, if you're working through an RMC or if you're working with a vendor that then has subcontractors under them, I think it's important if you're working with your point of contact that you've contracted with, if something happens kind of down the supply chain, how is your point of contact dealing with it? Are they just finger pointing and not taking the blame and say, oh, it's their fault, versus saying, gee, this happened, I'm really sorry. We're working with our partners to do a root cause analysis, identify the problem, fix it so it doesn't happen again. We're sorry this happened, and take accountability for the supply chain again, versus just the finger pointing and the blaming. And I think that really says a lot about an organization. And if you really get into that place again, where you trust the provider and again, they're being honest and transparent, I think that will serve you better in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also very happy to hear you say long-term relationship, because I then understand that your corporation ADP is also looking for those long-term relationships.
Yeah, we've had some vendors in our ecosystem for over 20 years, and there's a good reason for that. They've really adapted to what we've asked of them. They have proactively come to us saying, hey, we've got some new technology enhancements. We think you should take a look at it. They've been very proactive in working with us to improve our program. So it's a two-way street. And as a result, we really value them. There's fair pricing, there's good communication stream. It's just a really nice, pleasant interaction, and we value that relationship.
So it's almost like growing with each other, I would almost say. So if you would go into new territories, they would go with you. They could they could take you to things that they've come across in the past. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, that's a great way
Thank
to
you.
put it.
Thank you. And as an organization, what kind of data are you then looking for as a corporate? What kind of data would you like to be feeded back on?
Yeah, and I think it's a great question because data is always a hot topic, and that's a lot of push, I think, for more technological innovation, is to be able to do more with the data that you have. And I think, a lot of times we'll go through these exercises where we say, what data do we need? What data are our stakeholders asking for? I need to make sure I can make a report that has A, B, and C on it. Let's make sure we're collecting it so we can report back. And then you go through these other exercises where you say, gee, I've been making this report every week for 10 years, but I don't think anyone actually looks at it. Is this a good use of our time? And maybe you're going to want to stop doing that exercise. But I think the companies that are really successful are the ones that are anticipating future trends and saying, what might I be asked for, or what should I proactively put in front of another stakeholder at my organization? So maybe I'm seen as more of a strategic partner. And am I collecting that data? So for example, if corporate social responsibility is really important at your company, maybe you want to proactively go out to your vendor and collect that data on, hey, what in your supply chain are you doing for your CSR initiatives? So then you can feed that back internally at your company. Or if you see DE&I as becoming a very important initiative, maybe you're going to want to start collecting data on the gender of the people that you're moving, or the demographic background, race, ethnicity, things like that of the people that you're moving, in anticipation of you getting asked that question. And instead of then having to scramble for the information, you already have it at your fingertips, and you can quickly produce a report.
Excellent. Yeah, good. And I think there's a few providers in this world, thankfully, that would go with you and would fully support you in that task, so to say. Okay, Becky. Well, thank you very, very much for talking to us a little bit more about managing international assignments from your point of view. I would like to thank you and hope to come across you again in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.